So by far the number one controversial fact about martial arts is that there is a controversy over the effectiveness of modern martial arts versus traditional martial arts. And really it comes down to that UFC has proven a point when it comes to fighting that there are a few martial arts that will stand out. Those being kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Sambo, wrestling. Those are the big ones that have been standing out a lot in MMA. For a very good reason, because they have very simple moves that are effective and they kind of fill in the holes where a lot of other martial arts have failed. There's some martial arts that still have good standing in the UFC. For instance, karate. Karate has actually, done well. Someone like Stephen Boy Thompson, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he's actually a karate background, but he includes his kickboxing and a lot of his wrestling and jiu-jitsu in there, and that's where he actually excels. So he's an anomaly in there, but then there's so many other fighters that are competing that are kickboxers or boxers. They're there because they're using more modern versions of martial arts versus something traditional, like say for instance Taekwondo, or you got some more like Aikido, or you got karate again, but then there's some versions of karate that are not going to be excelling as well in something like UFC. So the controversy is, what's better? What should I learn? Why should I learn the traditional if I can just learn how to beat someone up really hard with like kickboxing or Muay Thai? And they're both valid, because if I want to be able to be a fighter, I'm probably going to be choosing something like kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, because I want to be able to learn how to hit someone hard. But it doesn't eliminate the value of traditional martial arts. And I bring that to the table because I value tradition. I also value martial arts and what they offer. And they offer a lot more than just learning how to beat someone up. There's a lot more to martial arts than just learning how to hurt someone. And that's important, because martial arts has, well, let's classify a couple things. First off, when it comes to fighting or it comes to any kind of physical conflict, there are three areas. Number one is martial arts, two would be fighting, and then three would be self-protection. And those three have their own areas, and then they can meet in the middle, and then there's some that can, it's kind of like one of those Venn diagrams. You got a circle here, you got a circle there, and you got a circle here, and they meet on edges on some circles, and then some of them they meet in the middle. And it's very, very difficult to meet in the middle, because you have a fine line between keeping to the tradition of martial arts and also exposing the flaws and including the necessary takedowns or necessary power that you can generate from certain positions, certain moves that don't work in real life scenarios, and then also what self-protection is and what self-defense is. Because it's today we look at martial arts as something that is not going to help us in the real world, and to be quite honest with you, there's a lot of things in martial arts that will not help you in the real world, and that's the sad reality about it. But then there's also a lot of things in martial arts that do help you in the real world. To name a few, it's a lot to do with the mental part of martial arts that really prepares you for the level of self-protection, because martial arts first puts you in a good mindset of training. You're disciplined, you're focused, you're working towards a good goal. You're pushing yourself in your limits physically and mentally, and that's a good base to start with. I would say martial arts is a great base to start with when it comes to developing your mind and your body to be able to undertake the rules of self-protection. You could go that way with something like more modern martial arts as well, but then I find that I lose the traditional aspects and the mindset of a martial arts warrior, because there's a lot to a black belt and earning a black belt versus earning your title in the ring and being able to hurt someone else in the ring and be able to physically dominate. They're both acts of the warrior and the spirit of a warrior. And then at the top we have self-protection. And there's more to self-protection than just learning how to hit somebody. There's a lot more, because I've been in a self-defense scenario where I was scared for my life, that I was worried that I was going to die or that I was going to get stabbed. And it's quite enlightening, and also makes you realize that what you do in the gym, you can do whatever you want in the gym, you can practice, but nothing really prepares you for the real thing, like the real thing itself. And I've heard from many UFC fighters where they got their homes invaded and they didn't know what to do. They were scared. They fought off the invaders, but they still had that fear in their mind of, oh my gosh, there's somebody in front of me with a baseball bat or a knife. or he might have a gun, or his partner might have a gun. Who knows? It could get to that level of seriousness. So there is that separation between the three different styles of martial arts, modern martial arts, and also self-protection. So there's a big controversy over it. So what is really the answer that we need on whether I should do traditional martial arts, whether I should do modern martial arts, or whether I should do self-protection? And really, I believe that you as an individual need to decide what's important to you. Is it important to you to learn how to walk confidently down the street and know that you can physically maim or destroy somebody and just them coming up to you, and all you do is stand there, and then they come close and you whack, you hit them hard and they're down on the ground? And that would be leading more towards something like martial arts, or MMA, because you learn how to strike hard, you learn how to deal with that intense conflict of a one-on-one battle. Now, keyword is one-on-one. Self-protection has more to it than that. It has an inclusion of multiple attackers. It possibly could. It also has inclusion of knives. It has inclusion of guns and bats and somebody throwing dust in your eyes, or someone throwing you into a wall, or throwing any object at you, because that's self-protection. It could be anything. It's the real world. So that's where there's a fine line of learning how to defend yourself in the ring, or learning how to defend yourself in theory with martial arts, and then also putting it into real practice in the real world. So how I kind of like lived my martial arts life is I started off believing that my martial arts was the way, the only way to how to defend, and then I quickly realized once I started, fighting boxers or Muay Thai fighters, I was like, well, this is different. Now I'm getting my legs chopped. And then afterwards I found that, people were grappling me and throwing me to the ground. And I was like, okay, well, I need to learn jiu-jitsu now. And then also I had the realization that dealing with knives is not just as simple as block, hit them, knee strike, control the arm, disarm. It's all great in theory and it looks good in practice, but there's been a lot of media coming out of these martial artists and these YouTubers who do these experiments, and they find that it's not as easy as it looks. And these are trained martial artists who know what they're doing, but then they try to disarm somebody, they try to defend themselves against someone with a knife at full 100% capacity. They're wearing full body armor gear and everything, but then they still can't deal with it because they're so focused on the knife, and they're trying to use their martial arts moves, or their triangle chokes, or their wrestling abilities, but they're so fixated on that knife because it is a threat. It is going to stab and impale you and make you bleed. So that's the number one priority, and you focus so much on it. But then we lose track of what we're trained to do in the ring, or what we're trained to do in our gym. So yeah, what is the real answer? What should we do? Well, as I said before, it comes back to the individual. What is your goal? What is your purpose in martial arts or fitness or in health? Most of the time people come in and they want to learn self-defense, which I really love to give my version of it. And my version of it would be, first, physical fitness over anything else. Like physical fitness. If you have the fitness aspect down, then a lot of other things come easy, because self-protection is going to come down to your physical fitness. It really does. And also size, and men versus women does matter. You could be a chick and you could be able to, hit hard and be able to do triangle chokes on people in the gym. But as soon as that turns into a altercation of a man who's physically dominating and wants to hurt or kill or rape that woman, that's where it gets to another level, because that man has laser lock focus into what he's going to do, and he will probably stop at nothing and probably will hurt that woman like she has never been hurt before, especially in the gym. If she's going against other dudes in the gym, they have that honor code of they're not going to try to hurt their lady friends in the gym. They're still going to give them that effort of, hey, this is how a man's going to be physically dominating over you, and they're probably going to try to do this. But then it gets to another level as soon as that man is not a friend, it is an attacker. So physical fitness overall. If a woman, I like to think of it as like the average man is here when it comes to self-protection, and the average woman's here. Now say that average man, his fitness stays the same, and then a woman were to match his physical fitness, and she has better technique. She has a very good fighting chance. That's what I would say. But as soon as that average woman gets up to above average or even pretty well fit, and then that's when it starts to tip, because a man who's even a little bit more fit or keeping on building his skill, that's where it tips over into, again, your fitness and your strength. Another aspect of it is also the time under tension of conflict and someone attacking you. Someone throwing punches, someone trying to choke you, someone being violent towards you, basically getting desensitized to that. Because if you're not used to it, first time it happens, it's gonna be a shock to your system. It's like, a building exploding in front of you and you're like, oh my God, that just blew up. But then there's someone attacking you in front of you and they look really scary and they wanna hurt you, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not used to that. So yes, the next point, sorry, we have three. So we have number one is physical fitness. Number two is your physical skills and your ability to defend yourself. And then finally, number three would be your cardio and your ability to run. That goes back to your fitness, because if you can run, then that's a great option. And be able to run well and be able to do something like parkour. Because parkour, I believe, is a very good self-defense strategy, because there's plenty of times that you might be caught in a corner, or you might be caught somewhere where you need to climb or get out, and parkour, in my opinion, is a great way to learn how to escape from dangerous situations. But then there's the other opposite end of the spectrum where you don't have that option to escape. You actually have to fight, because maybe you have your wife, your girlfriend, or you have children with you, and there's no other option. You have to fight who's ever in front of you. Or you're backed up against a wall. There's no other exit except going right through the person in front of you. So yeah, it's a touchy subject. Very big controversy in the martial arts industry today. My predictions, though, for the future is that technology is going to change the dynamics quite a lot. So much in the matter that robotics. Think about this. Future, where we have robotics and enhancements where we can change our biology, or we can change our limbs and upgrade ourselves to, for instance, a woman getting the strength of a man because of robotics. And then that's when things are going to change quite a bit when it comes to self-protection and defense. Plus, there's going to be so much more security-wise, like cameras are going to be everywhere. It doesn't mean that crime's not going to happen, but there's going to be like robo-cops walking around. There's going to be a lot more strict law enforcement on things like that, and obviously there's going to be the bad people who will have their upgrades as well with technology. So things are going to change in the future when it comes to how we defend ourselves and also how self-protection is taught. I don't believe martial arts will ever die, in the sense that we will always want to learn from a human being, and we will always want to have that connection with our sensei or our instructor. So that's never going to die. But how we defend ourselves and how self-protection is taught will definitely change in the future. So anyways, that was my little ramble about how we have a really controversial topic in martial arts today. Thank you so much for joining me on this little topic. Hopefully you guys want to stay for more, because I got a lot more information, a lot more topics, and a lot more things I can go over. But we're going to end right off there. Just make sure you send a like to the video, and you also subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Take care.